Hello everyone, welcome back to the 20 Dilf channel, and this is the 2023 Mercedes-Benz GLC 300 Coupe. And what I'm going to be doing in this video is doing a complete overview of this car, so driving it, what's under the bonnet, everything else about this car you're going to see in this video. So let's get into it. Start off with the front end of the GLC, where it's just classic Mercedes. You've got this Mercedes grille at the front here with your badge, your center badge being the radar cruise control as well, and this all looks very, very nice. This being an AMG line, it has a slightly different grille over the standard GLC, so it looks a little bit more sporty. You've also got these really nice LED multi-beam headlights, which work really, really well at night. They're very bright, and it has automatic high beams, so you can have the high beam on at all times and it will dip the individual LEDs to avoid blinding oncoming cars, which is really, really clever tech. Really nice to see on a car in this segment. Other than that, around the front end, you've got a lot of fake covered up vents. Apart from the side here, you've got a little bit of aero there. It's just, yeah, to streamline air really, that's it. No cooling, no functional cooling or anything. If you move a little lower, you can see a little actual vent underneath there as well. But apart from that, the front end is just very classic Mercedes. It looks stylish. It's a pretty good looking front end, and it's also got a very big bonnet. Before I move on to the side of this car, I think I should run you through the spec list on this car, and also just got to mention that this is a COVID car. Now, in the industry, that essentially means that this car was made during the period of COVID, where there was chip shortages and a bunch of other issues regarding parts supplies and all of that. So this particular GLC is a COVID car, and it's missing out on a lot of options despite being a fully optioned car, and you'll see that particularly when we hop into the interior. But even on the outside, I know on our previous GLC the grille had nice chrome pieces on here. It's gone now. It's just black plastic, and it looks a little bit cheap, I can't lie. For a Mercedes, you kind of want that to be partially chrome. I feel as if the straight black makes it look very base spec, which is a little bit unfortunate to see. Apart from that, the car's fully optioned, so it's got the night pack, it's got the AMG Plus line pack, so it's got air suspension, literally fully optioned car, but the interior doesn't feel very well equipped. Let's move on to the side of the GLC here, where it's just it's just a typical Mercedes design. You've got nice creases along here. It's very smooth, it's very rounded off, it's very nice, very elegant. You've also got this little side step at the bottom there because it is an SUV, and of course you're gonna need that. Moving to the wheels, these are 20-inch AMG wheels, and they look really, really good on this car. Sitting behind that, you've got some vented brakes with a pretty chunky looking caliper as well. Lots of stopping power, very, very high quality brake setup on this car, but you do need it considering this car weighs just over 2 tons to my knowledge. Fortunately, because this is a COVID car, you used to get Pirellis, Pirelli Scorpions, now you get Dunlop Sport Maxes, which average tyre, maybe even below average. The Pirellis were really good, the Dunlops not so good, unfortunately, but that's the price you pay for buying a COVID car. Let's move around to the rear of the Mercedes GLC Coupe. Obviously that rear end is fat. It's a very, very chunky bunda, and that thing is just, oh wow, it's a pretty big rear end, I can't lie. Being the coupe, it just kind of cuts off at the passenger and just swoops down, and I mean, you're left with a pretty massive, just kind of straight rear end. And some people really like the look. Personally, I'm not so sold on it. I think it does look pretty mean though. I do quite like the wing on the boot there. I think that little tiny little spoiler on the back of this car looks really, really good. But apart from that, you've got these chrome surrounds over the rear lights, which are also huge. These rear lights are massive. GLC badge there. You've got your pop-out reverse camera there, and also that's how you open the boot. We debadged the 4MATIC badge there. Just it looks a lot cleaner without the little 4MATIC badge there. Down, you've got these fake exhausts and this diffuser like thing. So underneath the fake exhaust is the real exhaust, and I mean, it sounds okay. This car's an OPF because it's a modern Mercedes, so of course it's going to have an OPF, but look, it still sounds okay. It does have a soft limiter at 4,000, so you won't be able to hear too much, but I'll give it a rev anyway. So of course the camera was out of focus, but you could hear it. It's okay, but obviously it's got OPF, all that stuff to reduce the exhaust noise, because yeah, the EU is brilliant like that. We love the Paris Agreement. Moving away from the exhaust, I think it's only fair we go and check out the engine bay. Here is the engine bay on the Mercedes GLC. It is a 2-litre turbo, 4-cylinder, and I mean, look, it's a pretty solid engine, to be honest. I think this is a detuned AMG, like a A45 engine. I'm pretty sure this is the same kind of engine they throw in the A45s and the A classes, C classes. They probably use this engine in a variety of Mercs, but it's a very, very solid engine. I think this one produces about 230 kilowatts, maybe 370 newton meters of torque. So it's got quite a fair bit of punch when you put the foot down, and I really quite enjoy it. Most of it's pretty covered up, but if you move to the side, obviously you can see the turbo, the huge OPF right down there. But apart from that, it's pretty clean looking engine bay. And something I love about Mercedes as well, the bonnet can go up to 90 degrees essentially. It's called service mode. And it makes it very easy to service the car because you don't have the bonnet in the way, which is quite a nice little feature. Absolutely dying in this heat, so I think it is only fair we step into the interior. Of course, you've got your AMG floor mats to remind you that you have the AMG Plus line. The car's reminding me to top up the washer fluid. But inside, when you're sitting inside, you're greeted with this lovely leather and Alcantara steering wheel. You've got Alcantara either side there, which, look, I really like it. I like the fact that they've added the Alcantara on the steering wheel. I just feel like it's a little bit purposeless in a car like this, because this is not a performance car. It's a family SUV. You're not going to be hitting up the Nordschleife in your GLC 300 anytime soon, so this is a little bit of a gimmick. Our previous GLC had perforated leather on the side, which was a lot more appropriate because Alcantara wears out very quickly. So it's good for a performance car, which is driven a few times a year, but not on a daily driver like this. From that, I have no complaints whatsoever about the steering wheel. It's very nice to hold, very chunky, very comfortable steering wheel. You've got plenty of options through here. You pretty much control the entire car through the steering wheel if you want to. It's very nice. The switchgear feels very nice, very premium. The paddle shifters are metal and feel absolutely brilliant. And I really don't have any complaints about the steering wheel. It's one of the nicest steering wheels I've ever felt, and huge thumbs up to Mercedes for this steering wheel. It's really nice. Directly behind the steering wheel, you've got your gear selector lever there, so that avoids obviously having your selector lever in the middle there, so it creates a much sleeker and cleaner center console, which I really like. Very nice touch, Mercedes. Behind that, you've got your engine start stop button and your headlight controls there. Air vent there as well. The air vents are very nicely designed. They feel very premium and they work very well as well. This one's a bit stiff, I don't know why. Like I mentioned, this is a COVID car, so fully optioned car, but you don't get the Burmester sound system. Explain that one to me, Mercedes. You've ditched one of the best sound systems in this segment for this ugly looking, pretty horrible sounding sound system. Thumbs down for that. That's pretty awful. But unfortunately, the negatives don't stop there. In Australia, you don't get the cooled seat option because for some reason Mercedes thinks that it, for some reason, never gets hot here. Makes no sense at all. They included the heated seats, but no cooled seats. I feel like the cooled seats are probably more necessary for this climate, but anyway, that's Mercedes for you. Got your memory seats here, so you've got 3 to choose from, very easy to use, and obviously it's in the layout of a seat, so you can automatically adjust it like that. That works very well. You've got your window switches there. You've got this really nice red stitching throughout the interior because it's the AMG Plus. So there you go. You got your nice stitching there. Everything's soft touch. You got your brushed metal finish on the side here. Very nice and presentable. Everything is soft touch. I can't find any scratchy plastics whatsoever. The whole car feels very well built. Maybe this part's plastic, but it's not scratchy. Everything's very nicely built in this car. It feels very sturdy, very nice, and you really do start to see where your money's gone once you step into the interior of this car. The car's, for whatever reason, just decided to lock itself. So this car has done 12,352 kilometers, so pretty new still. But if I turn it on, because I really do like the infotainment system on this car, it is the MBUX system. So this is the first gen MBUX, and don't tell me that. Okay, good. Yeah, that's right. Drive past. Do not stop here. Go on, keep going. Yeah, you too, buddy. It's first gen MBUX system. Very, very nice system to use. It's very, very fluid. Through here, you can control what you want on the little display here, so you can see your service. Next time you need to get service, you can view your navigation, trip info. I just usually have it on media. Then if you scroll to the right, you can choose through a variety of tachometer options there. So, I mean, I like this. The fact that it's literally got a G-force bloody thing in the dash, which is really, really cool. Digital display works really well. You can also control the main screen through this touch capacitive button here as well. I usually have it on this setting here because it shows your like torque figures, engine output, everything like that. It's very, very nice. Your oil temps there, your gearbox temps there, your coolant temps there. So I really like that layout. This engine does run really hot though, and I think that's because of the OPF. It is a very, very hot engine. I mean, I've driven this car normally, and it's already, the oil temp's at 110 degrees almost, and that's how much, like, that's the oil temp that my Golf R will be at once I'm actually giving it some. So it's a very, very hot engine. I honestly think that's because of the OPF, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. I've got the NPC is just parked up, but I've got the aircon on now because it's very hot. So yeah, like I was saying, it's very cool how that shows all that information, but the rest of the system is very fluid. It works very, very well. You've got your ambient lighting settings here, because at night you've got a lot of ambient lighting around the car, being a Mercedes. Shut up. A lot of options through here, and then this obviously is where you control the car's settings as well. So you've got all this. It's Mercedes, so there's very nice graphics as well. It's very, very nice. You can configure your individual settings here. Very, very nice. Very, very well put together system. I think it's some of the best tech in the industry, and definitely class leading for this segment. It's a really, really high quality system, works very, very well. And overall, I have no complaints about the MBUX system. Moving down the center console, you've got your 3 air vents here. Like I was mentioning before, you've got your climate control settings here, which thankfully aren't integrated into the screen. You still have your physical buttons, and they all feel very nice to use. It's very well put together, and it's very presentable as well. I really like it. Down here, you've got your, I don't know, I actually don't know, all shortcuts. That's pretty much it, and your hazard button as well. Through here is a little storage cubby. You used to get a wireless charging pad. You don't anymore. COVID car, obviously. So that's a little bit of a shame. You kind of expect a charging, like a wireless charging pad in a car that retails new for 127,000 Australian dollars. That is a little bit disappointing to see, considering the $36,000 Volkswagen T-Cross comes with one. But anyway, look, that is what it is. There's unfortunately no wireless charging pad in here. You've got your dynamic select here, so you can go through Eco, Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, and Individual. I think for the purpose of the review, we'll keep it in Comfort mode for most of the time. You've got your air suspension settings here. So this car does have air suspension. So the car is currently rising when you press that button, and then if you press it again, it'll go down. So air suspension, high quality. Compared to our old GLC, it was again a first gen facelift like this one, except it had the standard suspension, and let me tell you, the air suspension makes a world of a difference. It is so much more comfortable. You barely feel the bumps through it. It honestly feels like a Rolls Royce in here, almost, not quite. But I mentioned the heads up display, which you can just see right there. So it shows the speed limit on the right, and then the compass on the left, and then your speed in the middle. And I think it's somewhat customizable. When you have your navigation on, it'll tell you when to turn left and turn right and how far away it is, which is a very, very nice feature. It's all integrated very, very well. Moving down again, so you've got your manual mode here. So if you press that button, you can go into manual mode and use the paddle shifters exclusively, which is very nice. You've got your auto stop start button there. I like to turn it off. Volume control here, but obviously you can also control it from the steering wheel. You've got your infotainment power off there, so you can turn it off, just turn the display off. That's that, and you've got your 360 camera here, your parking sensors. So 360 camera is very crisp, very high quality. You can view all the different things. You got a very nice selection of camera views here, so that all works very, very nicely. And you've got your traction button there as well, in case you ever feel like doing some hectic skids in your GLC 300. In here you've got a little center cubby, which is very decent with space. Seats are very comfortable, very nice, very nicely designed actually. I love the red stitching. It works really, really well with this car, and it's a very comfortable seat, so no complaints there either. The rear is just as comfortable, very, very nice, and there's quite a lot of legroom if you don't sit like me. And yeah, so there's a lot of legroom if you're not as tall as me, which is good to see. But oh yeah, you've also got a sunroof as well, but it doesn't go all the way back, considering this is a coupe, so you don't really have the space for it like in the regular GLC. But I think that's me done talking about this car. Let's go and take it for a drive. Okay, so the setup is in place. We have closed the sunroof, and it has a manual shade as well. I know in our old GLC it was automatic. I think it's just because it's a coupe. Manual shade there. Doesn't really matter. It doesn't bother me. Seatbelt's awesome. Automatically tighten as well, so if you haven't been hugged before, it's a nice surprise. Our infamous little U-turn here and try not to crash into the NPC has just decided to interrupt my comprehensive and in-depth review of this Mercedes. Obviously, like I said, we'll start off in comfort mode. I'll lower the suspension because I don't really like it being so high up. And look, it's very quiet inside. You might hear the aircon over the microphone. Actually, I'll turn that down a little bit. Very quiet inside, very refined, and it feels like you'd expect a Mercedes to feel. Very high up, so you've got a very good, I suppose, tall driving position. You can see around very, very well, and look, it's a very practical car as well. It's by no means designed to be a very dynamic car, despite having the Sport Plus option, which does stiffen up the suspension a little bit. And I mean, you do have some artificial sound pumped into the cabin when you do put it into Sport Plus mode. But look, it is actually pretty quick. My parents specifically told me not to thrash this car. So I'll give it a little bit in two spots, my two favorite little straights. But I'll be driving a majority of the time in comfort mode, simply also because this car really isn't a performance car. So that's just how it is. Put it into sport mode, we'll enable manual mode so we can use the paddles. We'll give it a bit. So look, it picks up. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but I mean, this is still somehow P-Plate approved, and the 0 to 60 time is 6.1 seconds. So it clearly has some power under the bonnet, and it's quick. It's very quick. I also forgot to mention, actually, there's a bloody cyclist event going on at the moment. So there's going to be cyclists absolutely everywhere. Yeah, they just feel like they can just steal the roads that they don't pay road taxes for, or rego. So yeah, that's lovely. But anyway, it's okay. We'll just annoy them. So look, it's very quick. It's got a very good transmission. It's a 9-speed automatic transmission. I'm pretty sure it's a single clutch. I could be wrong. It might be a DCT. It feels a little sluggish if it is a DCT. But look, I mean, it's a very good transmission. If you're just driving normally, you don't even notice it. So it's just if you're being bloody cyclist. The car's angry that there's a cyclist there as well. I'm glad. Good Mercedes. But look, we'll put it back into comfort mode and just chill for the rest of it. I might do a little bit of dynamic driving around some corners, but look, like I said, it's just going to be a very chill drive, because you don't buy this car as a performance car. If you want a performance GLC, look, they do sell a GLC 43 AMG and a GLC 63 AMG with a 4-litre bi-turbo V8. So if you're after a GLC with a little bit more performance, that's what you can go for. But I'd highly recommend you just go for a C63 if you're after a V8 Merc, because that car's a lot more dynamically capable. So go for that. But how this car drives, like I said, it's very comfortable, very smooth. The air suspension makes a huge difference on the road. It's so smooth, like I can barely feel any of the bumps. You can hear them, but you can't feel them. The 20-inch AMG wheels do make it a little bit less pleasant over bumps over the standard wheels, which I believe are 18 or 19-inch wheels. So that's just the compromise you make if you get the AMG line. But look, it doesn't intrude on the ride performance too much. The air suspension does soak up a lot of the bumps and undulations in the road, so this is quite okay. But look, around some corners, look, I'm barely putting any effort in, and it's going around the corners just fine. So yeah, this car corners very, very nicely. I'm going to turn the aircon up a little bit. I'm sorry if it goes over the microphone. Got a lot of safety tech as well, so it's got lane guide assist. It also warns you if you're lane departure warning as well, so it's very, very nice like that. And it's also got crash detection as well, so if someone slams on their brakes and you're distracted for whatever reason, it'll slam on the brakes for you and alert you with a very loud noise as well. So that's a little bit annoying. It doesn't go off too often mistakenly, which is good. But yeah, look, it's a very, very smooth ride. It's very nice to drive. If you're someone who's after a very dynamic driving experience, this car's definitely not for you, for the reasons I've already mentioned, but also because this steering is very light. You barely feel the road at all. It's not very connected. Very light steering, but I mean, it's a family car. At the end of the day, it's a family car, very practical. The boot space on this car is pretty insane, and also it's got a little button, so if you've got your groceries or something, you can press the little button in the boot and it will lower the rear with the air suspension. One thing I really wish they put into this car is an off-road mode, so you can make it bounce like the GLEs and the Maybach GLSs. I think that would be pretty funny. No one would use it for its intended purpose, but look, it would be funny nonetheless. Another bloody cycle. I think the actual event's over now, which is good, because when I came down here, that had the road closed off and everything, and I was like, yeah, I live in Cottage Point. That's why I'm going down this road. I'm like, oh, okay. Idiots. There's not much to say about this car. It's just very comfortable. It's very comfortable, very nice to drive, very easy to drive. I've never felt stressed driving this car in my life. You've got all the safety tech in the world. You've got your 360 camera. Stupid Lancer. You've got your 360 cameras. You've got a very nice drivetrain. Gearbox is nice and smooth. You can barely feel a change. It's so smooth, which is really nice. It's just such a shame because Mercedes like to focus on their interiors, and that's very evident in this car. This car's interior is very, very nicely put together. It's just a very nice interior, and it's just such a shame that they've let it down with obviously it being a COVID spec. So it's got no Burmester sound system, despite being a fully optioned car. Obviously it's got no wireless charging pad, which is just a real shame to see, because like I mentioned, my parents had a 2020 Mercedes GLC 300. I did a review on it a while ago, so I don't know where that is on my channel. It's not going to be very high quality considering it was filmed 3 or 4 years ago. So look, that was a very I love that car. That was a very nice car, and that was fully optioned. It had the wireless charging pad, it had the Burmester sound system, it didn't have the air suspension, so that's why I'm able to compare this car very well to that. Overall, I think if I'm recommending this car to anyone, I would, but avoid a COVID spec. Avoid a COVID spec. Just get one that was pre-COVID, so like a 2020, 2021. I think that's when they, I think it was 2021, that's when they started to go a little bit downhill with in terms of specs and everything. But ours was a 2019 model year, but a 2020 registration. So yeah, look, that one was very well spec'd, and I think if you're wanting a GLC that's going to hold its value a little better, because being a Merc SUV, a mass-produced SUV, it's depreciating as we speak. Every kilometer I put on this car it's losing money, because yeah, there's not a great deal of resale value on these luxury SUVs, which is that's just how it is. So don't buy one of these new. Always buy one secondhand, a few years old, if you want to get into one. I wouldn't buy one new personally. I think there's much better things you could be spending your money on than a brand new Merc, when you can just get one that's 3 or 4 years old. It's not gonna if it's got low Ks and it's been well maintained, you're not going to have too many mechanical dramas with the car. They're pretty good in terms of their longevity. Mercedes have notoriously been very, very reliable. Not so much with the newer stuff, but look, not to my knowledge, I've never heard of any issues with GLCs, any major ones anyway. So look, closing thoughts on this car. I do really like this car. It's a very good family car, very upmarket. It feels very premium inside. there's just honestly not too much to say about it. Struggling to find things to say about this car because it kind of just ticks every single box, and it's not the car that I would personally buy myself, but I can see the appeal. So if you're like a family or something and you need a family car, or you just want to be high off the road, you would go for a GLC because it's very nice inside. I think it's much better than the X3s, like the BMW X3s. It's a much nicer interior, definitely class leading in that aspect. But my biggest complaint about it is the price. I just don't think it's just a good idea to buy one of these brand new, because they just, like I said, they depreciate like crazy. So if you want to hop into these, I do recommend you do it. Just get a slightly older GLC and you should be fine, because they're very nice cars to drive, and I think you'll be impressed if you ever got behind the wheel of one. So look, I think that's everything I have to say about it. So I'm just going to end it there, and thank you for watching the video. And if you want me to review your car next, just leave a comment or DM me on Instagram at 20dilf. I'll pretty much review anything. But yeah, I think that's it for the video. So I'll catch you in the next one.